is broken. And Biden needs to confront that and say, we're going to have to reform the whole system. I would wish he'd do something much more extreme, like say the old asylum system is dead. No one is coming in through that process. You have to apply from your home country.
Which was a Trump policy.
Which was a Trump, and also the Mexico, you have to be in Mexico to apply. I think that's all correct.
So strategically, you think that if Biden would tack towards Trump policies, he would have actually a better political chance?
And it's also the right policy, because the old asylum system is being gamed by millions of people. Now, why, at this point, I say it's complicated because Biden did actually recently make this big compromise where he essentially accepted what the Senate Republicans were asking for and gave them the bill that they wanted. And then, of course, Trump comes in and says, don't sign this bill because it's better for me to have chaos on the border than to solve it. So, I still think what Biden should do is declare an emergency, national security crisis, send the National Guard, shut down the amnesty process and say we're going to redo it. It's quite possible courts will throw out elements of what he does. But this is a place where Biden should learn something from Trump. Much of what Trump did, the Muslim ban, banning TikTok, the shutting down the border, was overturned by courts. But people remembered that he was trying.
Strong action.
Where he was. Symbolically, it helped him a lot.
Trump was about that action, boss. And we got to talk about CNN. And the host that you just saw there, Fareed Zakaria, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, had some interesting things to say on live TV on CNN, and you have got to witness this. It is honestly incredible. Oh, man, it really is. It really is. But, yeah, before we hop into that, I do want to say thank you guys for all of the continued love and support. I greatly appreciate every single last one of you guys. Everybody that hits the like button, everybody that shares these videos, right? Because, hey, I'm only one person. I like I said before, I remember somebody commented, "Hey, Rich, we gotta make this go viral." I was like, I can't do anything. That's up to you guys, right? There's nothing I can do. I mean, I could drop the video, but as far as making it go viral, there's no magic button. Trust me, because if I could, every single one of you, I'd be smacking the mess out of that button. If there was like a magic button that could make these videos go viral, so all of the Americans, all of America can see these videos, can see the actual truth, I would hit that button every single day. Y'all would get tired of me. That button would be worn out within a week. That is for sure. But thank you guys. Thank you for all of the continued love and support. These videos do not get spread to the masses without your help. So thank you. Anyway, with that being said, let's dive in.
Here's my take. When President Biden made clear he was going to run for re-election, I had a sense of what his election strategy was and thought it was an intelligent path to victory. After the chaos of COVID and Trump, Joe Biden would stand for normalcy and a rising tide of good economic news. Donald Trump would divide Republicans, with significant chunks of the party wishing that someone like Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis would be their nominee. Meanwhile, Trump would unite and motivate Democrats, allowing President Biden to focus on the votes of independents and swing states who threw the Electoral College to Trump in 2016 and to Biden in 2020. I have to admit, none of this is playing out as I thought it would. Trump is now leading in almost all the swing states, but behind those numbers lie even more troubling details. As someone worried about the prospects of a second Trump term, I think it's best to be honest about reality. I understand that polls are not always accurate, but in general, they have tended to underestimate Donald Trump's support, not overestimate it. I doubt that there are many shy Biden voters in the country. The economy...
Bingo. You love it, and it's facts. There are, even still to this day, there are folks who just won't say that they support Trump. And that is because the left has demonized them. If you look at the results, 2016, everybody, Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win. Wrong. actually Trump won. And even if you look back at all the polls from that time, all the polls were saying Trump was going to lose. Fast forward to 2020. Biden was ahead quite a bit. And then come election day, Trump lost by what? It was like 40,000 votes over 3 different states. You know, so when they say that, it's actually facts. There's a lot still, not as much as there used to be, but there's still a lot of quiet Trump supporters. But let's jump back in.
Has been in a robust recovery for more than 2 years now, with unemployment hitting a 54-year low in 2023 and increasing only slightly since then. But Biden is getting little credit for it. The shift here is stark. On the question of who voters trust more to deal with the economy, Trump has a 22-point lead over Biden, according to an NBC poll from January. This marks a 15-point bump for Trump compared to the same poll in 2020. Perhaps this is because inflation is a far more pervasive problem than unemployment, affecting all Americans every day. Perhaps it's because people's views on the economy now are largely derived from their broader attitudes towards the candidates. But whatever the reasons, it's a stunning reversal in the midst of a relentless stream of good economic news. On cultural issues, Biden and Democrats benefit from the opposition to the Republican Party's position on abortion. But on the other great cultural issue, immigration, Biden is 35 points behind Trump as to who would handle it better. And I do wonder whether abortion will be as large an issue in a presidential race, given that reversing Roe v. Wade threw the issue to state governments and legislatures and not the federal government. Perhaps the most worrying new trend for the Democrats is that far from being the more unified party, they are now bitterly divided over the war in Gaza. Bernie Sanders has said the eruption of pro-Palestinian protests could be Biden's Vietnam, and even invoked the specter of Lyndon Johnson choosing not to run for re-election in 1968 because of the opposition to that war. The analogy is far-fetched. America then was itself sending hundreds of thousands of troops to Vietnam, with more being recruited from college campuses every week. But there's no denying that the party seems more openly divided than it has been in decades. Only 33% of Americans said they approved of Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war, which is now opposed both by people who think he is too soft and people who think he is too hard on Israel. Meanwhile, Republicans seem to be uniting behind Trump. Whatever opposition he faced in the primaries has largely melted away. And the trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr, and even may serve to make him the object of some sympathy among people in general who believe that his prosecutors are politically motivated. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
What? Say that again.
True, in my opinion. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
What we have been saying all along. The only reason why any of this is going on is because of who he is. He's Donald Trump. Anybody else, none of this would be happening. None of it. The Letitia James trial, we even heard Kevin O'Leary come out and say, hey, we all do the exact same thing that he's doing. You guys have destroyed New York because we do the exact same thing that he does. You can go around and ask folks. These are Kevin O'Leary's words, not mine, right? I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. But he said, you can ask anybody. This is what we all do. So now nobody's going to come in here because now we're all going to be afraid that you're going to come after us next, the same way you did him. Because we do the same thing. So if it was fair and if it was honest, and I said this before, and I said this when I was having a conversation with a Democrat the other day. I said, if it was fair and it was honest, I wouldn't have a problem with anybody going after Uncle Trump. I wouldn't have a problem with anybody criticizing Uncle Trump. I wouldn't have a problem with any of it, as long as it was fair. The same way you criticize Trump, criticize Biden. Otherwise, I'm going to come to Trump's defense every single time, 7 days out of the week and twice on Sunday, right? The same way that you drag Trump into courtroom after courtroom after courtroom, drag everybody else into courtrooms. Why isn't Hillary in a courtroom? Why isn't Joe Biden in a courtroom? Oh, I forgot they deemed him mentally too unfit to stand trial, but he's fit enough to be a president again. Anyway, that one baffles me. But why isn't Mike Pence being dragged into a courtroom? He did the same thing. He took documents. None of them were presidents. Trump was the only one that was a president, and he's the one that gets dragged into a courtroom. Make that make sense. You can't.
A majority of Americans are skeptical that Trump will be able to get a fair trial, according to a CNN poll. And I haven't even mentioned Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cornel West and Jill Stein, all of whom would probably take votes away from Biden. Things could change. Polls do suggest that were Trump to be convicted of a felony, it could shift votes in Biden's favor. The administration may be able to pull off a ceasefire in Gaza and then a broader political settlement that gives Palestinians political rights and Israel diplomatic relations with Saudi Arabia. Trump could always embroil himself in some kind of scandal. But trend lines are not working in Biden's favor. He needs to do something bold and dramatic to seize the initiative, on asylum policy, for example, and reverse these numbers. The one that troubles me the most is on the question of who was the more competent. Joe Biden led Donald Trump by 9 points in 2020, but Trump now leads by 16 points in January 2024. That 25-point shift could be a reflection of people's sense that the president's age is affecting his capacity to govern. And there's very little that Joe Biden can do now to change that perception.
He's cooked. And I haven't even seen that poll. Haven't seen that one. That's the first time I saw that one. Wow. So not only does Trump outbeat, Biden's perceived competency from 2020, 48 to Biden's 47 in 2020, but he's leading Biden by a larger margin than Biden was leading him in 2020. And I think it's obvious why that is. Because a lot of folks were tricked, right? A lot of people were bamboozled into believing that Trump was this horrible, terrible, no good, very bad person. And they felt like they needed change. They got it. And now they're realizing, oh crap, Houston, we have a problem. This guy isn't who they told us he was. And it's also bad for mainstream media because now people are realizing how badly they have been lying to folks. And so now it's destroyed them, and which is why I think they've kind of doubled down on the lie, because they're like, well, we're already caught in it, so let's just continue on with it. We have a base, so let's keep that base, and let's keep these BS stories going. Let's keep sensationalizing like stuff that should just be a minor talking point. Let's keep blowing those things up, for ratings. But the problem with that is everybody knows they're lying now. Well, not everybody, unfortunately, not everybody, but a lot of people do. And you see it in the polls and in the way that people are talking on the streets. I've shown you guys the street interviews and everything else. And Trump coined the phrase fake news. Even in conversations with Democrats that I've had, people have talked about fake news. Yeah, it's honestly incredible. It's honestly incredible to watch, But yeah, that is pretty wild. That's pretty wild. That type of swing, a 25-point swing, 26-point swing, whatever that was. Pretty crazy. But hey, Trump was better, and everybody knows it, and that's just the fact. But like I said, man, y'all let me know what you thought about all of this in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.